all ripped away in a divorce. Your ex thinks they can leave you with nothing, but then you discover a secret weapon you didn't even know you had: Social Security spousal benefits. That's exactly what happened to Ellen, a 62-year-old retiree who thought she'd lost everything until she learned about a benefit that changed her life. Stick around to hear her story, because you might be entitled to this money too, and you won't believe how it turned her world around. Ellen was 62, living in a cozy apartment in a small Ohio town, the kind with tree-lined streets and neighbors who wave from their porches. She'd always been the steady one, raising 2 kids, managing the household, and supporting her husband, Tom, through his career as a mechanic. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but it was hers, built on 30 years of shared dreams, family dinners, and quiet evenings watching the sunset. Ellen wasn't rich, but she had her savings, her pride, and her plans for a simple retirement, maybe a little garden, a few trips to see her grandkids. Then, 3 years ago, everything unraveled. Tom announced he was leaving. Not just leaving, he wanted a divorce, and he wanted to take everything. Ellen was blindsided. "I gave him my best years," she'd whisper to herself, staring at the empty chair where he used to sit. The divorce was bitter, with lawyers and arguments over every penny. Tom's lawyer argued that Ellen, who'd been a part-time librarian, hadn't earned much of their shared wealth. Her savings, carefully tucked away over decades, were nearly wiped out in the settlement. By the time the papers were signed, Ellen was left with a small apartment, a modest pension, and a heart full of worry. Ellen's biggest fear wasn't just losing her home or her savings, it was losing her future. At 62, she was eligible to claim Social Security, but her own benefits, based on her part-time work, were barely enough to cover rent and groceries. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff with no safety net to catch her. That's when a friend mentioned something surprising. Ellen might be able to claim Social Security spousal benefits money she could get based on Tom's work record, even after the divorce. Think of Social Security like a safety net woven from your life's work, or, in some cases, your spouse's work. If you were married for at least 10 years and haven't remarried, you might be eligible for spousal benefits, even if your ex is trying to cut you off. Ellen had no idea this existed. She'd assumed her ex's choices could erase her financial security forever. Could this be her lifeline? Or would it be another dead end? Have you or someone you love gone through a divorce and worried about money in retirement? Drop a comment below and let me know. I'd love to hear your story. Ellen's divorce left her reeling. She'd always been frugal, clipping coupons and saving for rainy days. But the legal fees drained her savings like water through a sieve. Her apartment, once a cozy retreat, felt like a cage. The rent was $900 a month, and her pension covered barely half. Her own Social Security benefit, if she claimed it at 62, would be about $800 a month, enough for the basics, but not for emergencies, doctor visits, or the little joys like taking her grandkids out for ice cream. She'd lie awake at night, her mind racing. What if I get sick? What if I can't pay the bills? The fear was like a heavy blanket, suffocating her hope. Ellen tried to stay strong, but the loneliness crept in. Her kids lived states away, busy with their own lives. Her friends were kind, but they couldn't fix her finances. And Tom, he was living comfortably, still working, with no apparent worries. It wasn't fair. Ellen decided to visit the local Social Security office, clutching a folder of divorce papers and pay stubs. The line was long, the chairs uncomfortable, and her nerves were frayed. When she finally sat down with a caseworker, she explained her situation, her voice trembling. "I don't know how I'm going to make it," she admitted. The caseworker listened patiently but delivered tough news. Her own Social Security benefit was low because her earnings as a part-time librarian didn't add up too much. Ellen's heart sank. Was this it? Was she doomed to scrape by forever? Just as Ellen was about to leave, the caseworker paused, flipping through her file. "Wait a minute," she said. "You were married for over 10 years, right?" Ellen nodded. Confused, the caseworker explained that Ellen might qualify for spousal benefits based on Tom's work record. Even though they were divorced, Ellen could receive up to half of Tom's Social Security benefit if it was higher than her own end. The best part, it wouldn't affect Tom's benefits at all. Ellen's mind spun. This sounded too good to be true. "You mean I can get money because of his work, even after everything he did?" she asked. The caseworker smiled. "Exactly. It's your right. But there was a catch. Ellen needed to verify details about her marriage and Tom's earnings, which meant digging up old documents and navigating a system that felt like a maze. She left the office with a glimmer of hope, but a mountain of doubt. What if Tom tried to block her? What if the paperwork got lost? Back home, Ellen faced new hurdles. Finding the marriage certificate meant digging through boxes in her closet, each one a reminder of happier times than the betrayal that followed. She called her daughter, Sarah, for support, but the conversation left her feeling worse. "Mom, why didn't you fight harder in the divorce?" Sarah asked, not understanding how hard Ellen had tried. The words stung, and Ellen wondered if she'd failed her family. Then came a letter from Tom's lawyer, claiming she was trying to take what wasn't hers. It was a scare tactic, but it shook her. Ellen started to doubt herself. Maybe she didn't deserve this benefit. Maybe she was being greedy. Her confidence wavered, and the paperwork sat untouched on her kitchen table for weeks. The fear of failing again was paralyzing. One evening, as she stared at the pile of forms, her phone rang. It was her old friend Linda, who'd been through a divorce herself. Linda's words were like a warm hug. "Ellen, you deserve this. You built that life with him. Don't let him take your future, too." Inspired, Ellen picked up the forms, but then she hit a snag that stopped her cold. The Social Security office needed proof of Tom's earnings, and he wasn't cooperating. Would Ellen lose her chance at stability? Or was there a way to fight back? Have you ever had to fight for something you deserved, like Ellen is doing? Share your story in the comments. It might inspire someone else. Ellen refused to give up. She called the Social Security office again, explaining her ex's resistance. The caseworker was a lifeline, guiding her to request a statement of earnings directly from the Social Security Administration. It wasn't easy. There were forms, phone calls, and long waits, but Ellen persisted. She pictured her spousal benefits as a rope pulling her out of a dark pit, and she held on tight. After weeks of effort, the paperwork was complete. Ellen learned she was entitled to $1,400 a month in spousal benefit, nearly double her own benefit. The money wouldn't make her rich, but it was enough to cover her rent, buy groceries, and even save a little for her